Back in August 2001, Genndy Tartakovsky's new series Samurai Jack debuted on Cartoon Network with a 3-parter labeled The Premiere Movie, and it was immediately apparent to any viewer that Samurai Jack was something special. Even in today's landscape, nearly 2 decades later, there's still nothing else like it. I grew up with the show and I recalled liking it, but it wasn't until I revisited it in anticipation for the 5th season that I was able to truly appreciate the series. And with the whole saga of Jack finally concluded, I want to go back and explore exactly how well crafted the series is. The series begins with an eclipse causing the resurrection of an ancient evil, Aku. From there, we're transported to a father detailing his personal history with Aku to his son. How with the help of an enchanted sword forged by mystical monks, he was capable of sealing Aku's evil into the earth. I love how the history is depicted with the aid of Japanese-style murals. Following the history lesson, the son, who later takes the name of Jack, indulges in some fun playing samurai only to be swiftly interrupted by the return of Aku. Chaos quickly ensues with Aku capturing Jack's father before he could reclaim the sword that defeated Aku all those years ago. Instead, the father indebted the safety of that sword in his wife's possession, as well as Jack's. From here, we're treated to likely my favorite sequence from the first 3 episodes. For the next 9 minutes, not a single line of dialogue is uttered, not even an audible sound is made from any singular character. This segment of the episode covers Jack's formative years, and the story gets across perfectly solely on the strength of its visual storytelling. Well, that and the impressive score composed by James L. Venable. This is a clear case where the music was created using the visuals as a guide. The two sync up flawlessly. Not only does the song match the intended tone of each moment, but the instrumentation and style even shifts to complement the cultural sound of each distinct location Jack visits upon his long training. Outside of the diverse amount of skills Jack was taught, including understanding hieroglyphics and archery, the montage also remains engaging through its stylized transitions and clever visual moments. On the former, the most common practices are wide-shot travel sequences, but my favorite is the pan from Jack's hieroglyphic lessons in Egypt to his time in the Greek Colosseum. On the latter, I love the use of lighting as a shot transition during the storm segment, particularly the brief moments of the ship being silhouetted between flashes. And at the end of the glorious journey, Jack is reunited with his mother at a mountain monastery. And it's a touching reunion between 2 people who've yet to speak. That's a remarkable feat. Preceding that reunion, Jack is granted the sword to vanquish Aku, and is later reunited with his father. Unlike his mother, the father isn't immediately recognizable through design. This is intentional though, as it displays the suffering Aku inflicts on others. His once proud stature has deformed into that of a decrepit old man. Still, the audience is informed of who this man is by the manner he's treated in. As a slave, he's given a particularly arduous task all by himself, and is exclusively denied water by the gods. With our knowledge between the history of him and Aku, the connection is quickly made, resulting in Jack's rescue being even more satisfying. Following a speech from his father about the importance of not relying solely on the power of the weapon, Jack finally confronts Aku. Aku's shape-shifting keeps the honestly one-sided fight entertaining, and the end result, as we all know, is Aku sending Jack into the distant future in order to save his own hide. Despite episode 2 firmly establishing the world will be inhabited for the remainder of the series and providing the most exposition, it's actually the episode I have the least to say on. Jack finds himself dropped in the future and is immediately presented with a life-threatening situation. After he manages to escape, he is lauded with colloquial slang praise from local teens that mostly sounds like gibberish to my ears. I'm sure Jack felt the same way, but he quite takes to their branded name for him, Jack, and later adopts it as his own. The teens send him in the direction of a dance club/bar so that he can be refreshed. The alien life forms inside take Jack by surprise, which causes a confrontation between Jack and one of the aliens, despite Jack's best attempts to placate him. Once Jack wins that kerfuffle, Sir Colin Bartholomew Montgomery Rothschild III, a canine archaeologist searching for someone's aid in releasing his kind from Aku's clutches, introduces himself to Jack, which is perhaps the funniest moment of the first 3 episodes, not only for Jack's assertion that he's a talking demon dog, but for the visual attention to detail with Rothschild's audible wagging tail during his introduction. He's just so happy to find someone who might be willing to help. Anyway, Rothschild explains the migration of alien lifeforms to Earth due to Aku's constant raiding of other planets' resources across the galaxies, and explains their plight. Jack agrees to help, and Rothschild takes him with them to the city of Townsville, where he once again witnesses firsthand the suffering Aku has placed them under. Upon rewatch, the most surprising moment in the first 3 episodes was the visual of the crucified dogs. Outside of maybe Genndy's follow-up, Symbiotic Titan, and a particular episode of Invader Zim, I can't think of any cartoons over here that top that kind of disturbing imagery. Aku was alerted to Jack's return and presence thanks to an eavesdropper at the bar club from earlier, and in response, he sent on a massive army of drones to his location. This brings us to the third and final episode in this trilogy, and thankfully this turns out to be a case of saving the best for last. While those 9 minutes in the first act truly is my favorite portion of the premiere movie, this episode takes the same principles that made that montage great and nails the scope to an action epic. Any dialogue is sparse as usual, and the story is derived solely through its visual presentation. The first half of the episode is dedicated to the planning process, as Jack and crew discover the drones far before they reach them. We see them set up different traps, craft weapons, and armors for the upcoming battle, all of which get used. Despite Jack's inability to figure out a ballpoint pen on his own, he still does a great job using all this advanced technology in combat. But seriously, I really appreciate the fact that not only do we see an extended sequence of his battle preparations, but the fact that he needs them. And not to echo his father, but despite his amazing abilities, he can't solely rely on his skills with his weapon. Instead, he also has to use his mind. This makes the combat a lot more captivating to watch, and it's what makes the first half of the battle so enjoyable. However, it's the second half of the battle that's the true spectacle. At first, we're treated to some incredibly fluid, fast-paced action sequences, with Jack defeating multiple drones while sustaining some damage in the process. The animation in Samurai Jack still holds up over here, even nearly 2 decades later. There are, of course, occasional shortcuts taken, separating the attack animation from the damage received, or motion backgrounds used to illustrate a sense of movement that isn't technically present, but the uses of these techniques are sparse, and the amount of flair and style exhibited here more than makes up for it. For example, earlier in the battle, how the gleam from the colliding blades overcasts Jack with bright, flash colors, or the constant use of the letterbox format in order to emphasize dramatic moments and provide the action sequences with a cinematic feel, developing a grander scope through visual execution alone. This applies to the non-battle segments too. I love Aku's demonic laughter layering over the multiple perspectives of the effect of his tyranny from the first episode, or how the series utilizes reflections here to further demonstrate Aku's confidence that the sword won't prison him again. The pinnacle of their visual execution comes within the final segments of the battle. Rather than remaining with the faster pace, the series drags each moment out to an unsettling level, emphasizing the individual deaths of each drone, complete with transplanting oil as a substitution for blood. This eventually leads to the drones themselves to fear for their life, displayed through a single step back that is as powerful as it is funny. Jack doesn't allow a single one to escape alive, and during the sequence the pacing picks up immediately. Another highlight of visual storytelling are the shots from the point of the view of the drone's wounds. All darkness cut in half by Samurai Jack. Not only is this a nifty way to symbolize the good Jack does, as he tears away darkness and brings light, but quite frankly, it just looks cool. The battle ends with Jack soaked in the blood of the fallen enemies, proudly holding the flag displaying a symbol of his heritage and his new compatriots. Following a display of gratitude on part of the canine archaeologists, Jack turns down their offer to venture with them and departs on his own quest to return to his timeline and vanquish Aku once and for all. The premiere movie concludes with Aku delivering a rousing speech to himself, declaring his intentions to end Samurai Jack on his own terms. The series' quiet nature, unique visual identity, and total dedication to allowing the visuals to express themselves, or so not tell, makes it an instant classic. To be honest, I don't think I can even name a Western animated premiere as good as the premiere movie was. Granted, 3 full-length episodes as opposed to the traditional 1, or even the growing in popularity double, is arguably an unfair comparison. But Samurai Jack starts with lofty ambitions and delivers on all of them, providing a unique viewing experience that is not only tailored more strictly to my personal preferences, but crafts an engaging tale that can be enjoyed by a wide demographic of people.